Not your typical 9-to-5 job. Many people dream of attaining a steady job with normal work hours and a reasonable commute, perhaps in a large cosmopolitan city. Others desire something else. Here are two people who knew from an early age that they didn't want a typical 9-to-5 job. With determination and tenacity, they managed to find work in areas that they are passionate about. Staffan Widstrand, wildlife photographer and nature conservationist. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
As a child, I remember having it all figured out. I was going to be an ice hockey star during winter, a soccer star during summer, and a pop star during spring and autumn. Later on, I wanted to be an archaeologist, an explorer, and a photographer.
How did you get started in your field of work?
I was in love with the natural world from the start. I wanted to know everything about animals. At 13, I became passionate about birds, and I still am. I also became passionate about other places, other countries, other cultures, and other languages. The horizon, and anything beyond it, felt like a promise, not a threat. I started taking pictures at 13, but it took until I was 25 before I started my own company as a photographer. Before that, I was trained as an army officer and as a metal worker, but after a while, I realized that none of that really was my thing. So, I became a nature tour guide at 22, taking eco-tourists all around the world, and being paid for it. I was also a picture editor at a major book publishing company.
What inspires you?
I feel very strongly about a number of things: human rights, indigenous people's very special rights, democracy, freedom, and tolerance. But the issue I have chosen to really go deep into and try to make a difference for is nature conservation and the survival of our natural heritage. We must take better care of and respect this ancient heritage of ours, not only for ethical reasons, but also for pure human reasons. We need our natural heritage to lead happy lives, to feel real joy, and to be able to understand ourselves.
What has been your favorite experience in the field?
There have been so many human experiences, cultural experiences, natural experiences, camping among lions, touching a wild polar bear's nose, sleeping in the rainforest, and waking up to monkeys.
Shannon Switzer, writer and water conservationist. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
When I was little, I actually wanted to be an animal. I would literally run around on all fours pretending to be a dog, horse, cheetah, dolphin. I morphed into different animals all the time. By the time I got to middle school and high school, I had moved on to wanting to be a zoo veterinarian or trainer at SeaWorld.
How did you get started in your field of work?
I've always loved the outdoors, the mountains and ocean alike, and growing up in San Diego allowed me to explore both of these diverse ecosystems. I doubled in environmental studies and biological sciences, which gave me ample opportunity to get out in the field.
What inspires you?
The ironic part about my dedication to conserving fresh water is my love for its salty cousin. Don't get me wrong, I love exploring rivers, lakes, and waterfalls, and I know that fresh water is our most precious and limited resource on Earth. That alone is enough reason to be dedicated to preserving it. However, the true driving force behind my obsession with keeping fresh water clean is my desire to keep the ocean clean. My belief that we should be able to enjoy spending time in our rivers without worrying about it adversely affecting our health is what motivates me daily.
What has been your favorite experience in the field?
A moment that will always be frozen in time for me occurred when I was photographing whale sharks. I had been following a shark who suddenly disappeared down to the depths. I brought my head up out of the water to determine where the rest of my small team had gone. When I put my head back in the water, I discovered another whale shark directly beneath me. We swam together for nearly 20 minutes. Fortunately, he was headed in the direction of my team. Once we had nearly reached them, he paused. He stared at me with his curious round eye, and then turned and headed in the direction from where we had just come. There's always something surreal about spending time with a wild animal that has chosen to approach and hang out on its own terms. In this case, I felt like I'd made a new friend.
Job interview types. If you are going to apply for a job in the United States, be prepared in advance for the types of interviews you can expect during the hiring process. Here are the major ones and tips on how to handle them. Screening interview. A screening interview is meant to weed out unqualified candidates. Interviewers will work from an outline of points they want to cover, looking for inconsistencies in your resume and challenging your qualifications. Provide answers to their questions, and never volunteer any additional information. This could work against you. One type of screening interview is the telephone interview. Telephone interview. Telephone interviews are merely screening interviews meant to eliminate poorly qualified candidates so that fewer people will need to be brought in and interviewed in person. You might be called out of the blue, or a telephone call to check on your resume might turn into an interview. Your mission is to be invited for a personal face-to-face interview. Here are some tips for telephone interviews. Anticipate the dialogue. Write a general script with answers to questions you might be asked. Focus on skills, experiences, and accomplishments. Practice until you are comfortable. Keep your notes handy. Have any key information, including your resume and notes about the company, next to the phone. You will sound prepared if you don't have to search for information. Make sure you also have a notepad and pen so you can jot down notes and any questions you would like to ask at the end of the interview. Be prepared to think on your feet. If you are asked to participate in a role-playing situation, give short but concise answers. Accept any criticism with tact and grace. Avoid salary issues. If you are asked how much money you would expect, try to avoid the issue by using a delaying statement or give a very broad range. At this point, you do not know how much the job is worth. Push for a face-to-face meeting. Sell yourself by closing with something like, "I am very interested in exploring the possibility of working in your company. I would appreciate an opportunity to meet with you in person. I am free either Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning. Which would be better for you?" Try to reschedule surprise telephone interviews. If you are called unexpectedly, try to set an appointment to call so you can be better prepared by saying something like, "I have a scheduling conflict right now. Can I call you back tomorrow after work at 6 p.m.? One-on-one interview. In a one-on-one interview, it has already been established that you have the skills and education necessary for the position. The interviewer wants to see if you will fit in with the company and how your skills will complement the rest of the department. Your goal in a one-on-one interview is to establish rapport with the interviewer and show him or her that your qualifications will benefit the company. Lunch interview. The same rules apply in lunch interviews as in those held at the office. The setting may be more casual, but remember, it is a business lunch and you are being watched carefully. Use the lunch interview to develop common ground with your interviewer. Follow his or her lead in both selection of food and in etiquette. Committee interview. Committee interviews are a common practice. You will face several members of the company who have a say in whether you are hired. When answering questions from several people, speak directly to the person asking the question. It is not necessary to answer to the group. In some committee interviews, you may be asked to demonstrate your problem-solving skills. The committee will outline a situation and ask you to formulate a plan that deals with the problem. You don't have to come up with the ultimate solution. The interviewers are looking for how you apply your knowledge and skills to a real-life situation. Group interview. A group interview is usually designed to uncover the leadership potential of prospective managers and employees who will be dealing with the public. The front-runner candidates are gathered together in an informal, discussion-type interview. A subject is introduced, and the interviewer will start off the discussion. The goal of the group interview is to see how you interact with others and how you use your knowledge and reasoning powers to win others over. If you do well in the group interview, you can expect to be asked back for a more extensive interview. Stress interview. Stress interviews are a deliberate attempt to see how you handle yourself. The interviewer may be sarcastic or argumentative, or may keep you waiting. Expect this to happen, and when it does, don't take it personally. Calmly answer each question as it comes. Ask for clarification if you need it, and never rush into an answer. The interviewer may also become silent at some point during the questioning. Recognize this as an attempt to unnerve you. Sit silently until the interviewer resumes the questions. If a minute goes by, ask if he or she needs clarification of your last comments.